Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Dogma Dialogues on Islam and Religious Diversity. I'm your host, Irtika Cheryl. In our first episode, we explored how religion can be understood beyond rigid boundaries, how belief and reason can coexist without conflict. We discussed how questioning faith doesn't weaken it, it actually deepens it. Today, we're building on that conversation by looking at something every human being, religious or not, grapples with spirituality and salvation. What does it really mean to be saved? Is salvation only about the afterlife, or can it be experienced here and now in how we live, love, and connect? And what is spirituality? A state of mind, a moral compass, or a bridge to the divine? To help us explore these layers, I'm once again joined by Dr. Farhad Shafti, a scholar and thinker whose insights always bring both clarity and depth to complex questions. Dr. Shafti, it's wonderful to have you back on Beyond Dogma. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Irtaga. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Let's begin with the concept of salvation. It's a word that carries enormous spiritual weight, one that means different things in different faiths, and even different things to different people. So, Dr. Shafti, how would you define salvation in its essence? Is it about being saved from something, sin, suffering, or ignorance? Or is it more about being saved into something, truth, awareness, and closeness to God?
Yeah, I think you started that with a very good question, and I think I straightforwardly go for the second that you said, Irtiqa, which is it is salvation into something, reaching something that kind of brings you peace and brings you something that satisfies you as a human being. When I look at different religions and spiritual paths, including Islam, what I see is that although the image that they offer about how things started, if there was a start, and how things are going to end, if they are going to end, and what are we supposed to do in this life, and what will happen in the hereafter, I see that while the images are different, but uh, practically, the outcome of it for the human being is the same, means the same thing. I try to illustrate that by explaining what I think, based on the Quran, success or salvation means, and then try to compare it with some other religions to see that although the image is different, but basically what it demands from human being to do is pretty much the same. Um, so let's go back to the beginning and let's look at the Quran. Quran gives us this image and this understanding, and I keep emphasizing on image because later on, perhaps not during these discussions on spirituality and salvation, but later on when we talk about religious pluralism and revelation, I will try to explain why I'm emphasizing on this word image. But in one word, just to clarify it quickly, in case anyone is wondering, I do not believe that us human beings are able to fully understand that ultimate truth, that in Abrahamic religions we call it God, or in Hinduism they call it God, and in Arabic, in the Quran, it's called Allah. I don't think we can fully understand that ultimate truth, and very much for the same reason, I don't think that we can fully understand while we are in this world that what comes after death and what hereafter really means. So the information that is given to us is in fact an image of that truth and that reality. We cannot understand it fully, but an image is given to us. This image may not literally be exactly the truth, but it very much gives us the feeling of that truth. like for instance, when the kids, like imagine 4 years old child plays with some electrical equipment, and you want to say, "Oh, don't do this. This is dangerous." You cannot explain electricity for a 4-year-old child. You try to use other ways to make him understand that this is dangerous. Okay, so I don't know, for instance, what in your language you say irtiqa, but for instance in Farsi, something I remember mothers used to say jizze, jizze, just this sound jizze, jizze, and it was some sort of scary sound, and that was it. Now, when that child grows up, that child will understand that, well, that jizze actually means this is electricity and it can give you electric shock and it is dangerous. So that jizz to that child is image of the truth, not the truth itself. There is no jizz. Jizz has no meaning actually. So that's why I'm emphasizing on the word image. And I hope that, inshallah, when we get to pluralism, we can discuss it more. Okay, after that rather long introduction, let us go back to the beginning. So from where human being has come, according to the Quran, human being has come from the hands of the Almighty, from God. He created human being. And we have this beautiful verse in the Quran that has been repeated 2 times. فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. When I kind of completed that creation, when I made it perfect, and when I blow to it from my own spirit, then you, meaning angels, prostrate to it, right? Now this part, نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, there are different ways to understand that. One interpretation is that God blew into human being from his own spirit. Another interpretation is that, well, God does not have spirit, really. So it says that I had this ruh, which is a concept that is present in the Quran, and that's another story. But from that ruh, something was blown into you. Something was blown into you. So at the end of the day, no matter which way we go, one thing stays like the conclusion that we can get from this, and that is that human being was created by the Almighty and was blessed by the Almighty and was separated from the Almighty. Okay? This separation is very important. It seems like the image that the Quran gives us is that we are separated from God by creation, and we go around in a circle. We are supposed to become good enough so that we can go back to God and complete this circle. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The 2nd chapter of the Quran, verse 156. Unfortunately, we read that verse only when somebody has passed away. But the verse, while it is of course related to death, it also reveals a very important principle, that we are from Him, we are for Him, inna lillah, we are for Him, and we are getting back to Him. Numerous verses of the Quran are giving us this image of loving relationship between us and our Creator. Numerous verses of the Quran. Surah Al-Fatir, verse number 15. So chapter 35, verse 15. Ya ayyuhan nas, antumul fuqara'u ila Allah, wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. O people, you are fuqara ila Allah. You are in need of the Almighty. But this in need is not just like, oh yes, sure, we need food and we need water and we need oxygen and we need planet Earth, and ultimately all these are coming from God. It's much deeper than that. It's not all about eating and drinking and being able to breathe and all that. It's much deeper than that. We are in need of them. Wallahu wal ghaniyul hamid. And he is the one that does not need anything, and everything praise him. You see, Ertaga, there is this very interesting verse says that Ya ayyuhal insan innaka qadihun ila rabbik kadhan famulaqih. O human being, O human being, you are struggling, you are putting effort, you are trying. قادح إلى ربك كدحا. You are trying, you are putting effort, you are struggling towards God, towards the Almighty. What a struggle! And you will see Him, you will get to Him at the end. What I understand from this, let me summarize the whole thing, because I think if we I don't want to say if we agree on this, because the point is not that I convince you, but if we agree that this is the understanding that can be taken from this, then I think answering the rest of your questions will become very easy. Think about it this way, Irtiqa. There's the ultimate being, infinite, perfect in every way. In fact, so perfect that even the word perfect is not a good description of him. Because when you say something is perfect, you can still imagine that it can be less perfect yesterday, and not today, for instance, he's perfect. That's not the same for God. He is definition of perfection, basically, right? And we have been separated from him, right? And it is as if something inside us knows that something is missing. And it is because of that feeling that something is missing that you're always trying to be better, to reach something, to achieve something. What I'm trying to say, Irtila, is that whatever we are trying to achieve in our life, good things, bad things, neutral things, we want to be a very good person for our society. We want to be a very knowledgeable person. We want to be able to help everybody. Or we want to have good position in an organization. We want to have lots of money. We want to have lots of power. We want to have political power. Or in the bad side of it, we want to deceive others, and we want to steal from the others, and we want to oppress others, and we want everybody to be fearful of us so that we can do whatever we want. All of that can be summarized in a few words: human being trying their best to achieve something. So every human being is trying to achieve something. That something may not necessarily be good thing. It can be bad thing, or it can be neutral things, but something. Some people are trying to help others and help the society and become good people, become very knowledgeable, teach others. Some other people may want to get as much money as they want, become rich, and get to the political power, etc., which is not a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing either. It's just a neutral thing, depending how they use it. And even some people may want to reach bad things. For instance, gaining whatever they can by oppressing others, right? Stealing from people. All of these, if we summarize it in a few words, is human being trying to achieve something. Why is human being like that? Why they're always trying to achieve something? In my understanding, the answer to this question is in the verse that I read. إِنَّكَ قَادِحٌ إِلَى رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا. Because they are separated from that perfect being. They're trying to become perfect again. It's just in their nature. Now, some of them know how to do it, some of them get it wrong, but at the end of the day, they're all trying to get there. Okay, let me read another verse of the Quran. This is in Surah Al-Kahf, 18th chapter of the Quran, verse number 110. قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحي إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. So the first part is the Prophet saying that I'm only a human being and all that, but after that it says فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ. Anyone who has this hope, this passion to reach God. Liqa comes from mulaqat. I think you have it in Urdu. Perhaps
Yes.
it's Arabic word, but it's very common in Urdu and Farsi. Anyone who wants to reach God, do that, get that to that mulaqat of the Almighty, do righteous things and do not assume partners in worshiping your Lord. Do not assume any partners. For people who will not be able to do that, for people who, for various reasons, will become bad enough that they are not in that category of righteous people, if there's no forgiveness or anything for them, and of course this forgiveness is again an image that we can talk about it later, then we have verses like verse number 15 in the 83rd chapter of the Quran, Mutaffifin, Kalla innahum an rabbihim yawma'izin lamahjubun. This is this beautiful verse of the Quran. These people, they will be mahjub from their Lord. Mahjub means that they won't be able to see their Lord. They won't be able to see him. I think for somebody who has a deep insight into religion, this is much more horrible than those verses that talk about Jahannam and hellfire and how bad that hellfire is. Yeah, this is the main thing. They won't be able to see their Lord. After all this, they won't be able to see their Lord. They won't be able to get back to that source of perfection. Whatever effort that they put in this world, without them knowing, in my understanding, all of that effort was for the Almighty. Without their understanding, perhaps for most of people, without their understanding. And now that time comes, you won't be able to see him. And then you see, as opposite to that, you have in Surah Al-Qiyamah, those who do see the Lord. وَجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ. In that day, there are faces, and he talks about faces of people who see their Lord. Their face is nazira. Nazira can be translated as a face that is bright of happiness. So happy, so peaceful, so bright, and therefore so beautiful. Why is that? The verse after says, وَجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ. Why it is nazira? إِلَى رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. They are looking at the Lord. They're looking towards their Lord. They have reached their Lord. Now, what that reaching means, that's another story. That's another thing to look at. So go back to your question. Let me see if I manage to answer it. What does salvation mean? What does success mean? Salvation or success would mean being able to reach that source of perfection from which we have come from. That is the meaning of salvation. And as I will try to explain, perhaps in answering some of your other questions in this episode, what I just said, Irtiqa, you can just change some of the words and it will totally make sense for a follower of, let's say, Hinduism religion. You just change the words, some of the words, some of the terminologies. It even makes sense for a Buddhist who himself says, I don't believe in God. It definitely will make sense to Zoroastrianist. In Farsi, we say Zarathushtri, it's much easier than English, which is the ancient religion in Iran.
Yeah.
I will keep emphasizing, when I try to answer your questions, over and over that these concepts are very much in common between different religions and spiritual pathways. And this is a good thing because, number one, it shows there should be some strong truth beneath all these concepts. It's not just some lucky people in some particular community that managed to get to it. Everybody somehow are saying the same thing. And also for us to be a little bit humble when we are facing other people, people of other communities, and appreciating them as well. So that is my answer to the first question.
Right. So I do suppose from your answer that you did connect this idea to the human search for meaning, the desire to feel whole, fulfilled, and at peace. And that was very beautifully put. Now, if we narrow our focus to Islam, salvation takes on a very unique form. So, what are the crucial criteria for salvation in Islam? Is it defined by belief, good deeds, or divine mercy? Or is it more of a balance between all three? And perhaps most importantly, does Islam recognize the path of salvation outside the formal boundaries of the faith?
So I will try in answering you very respectfully. I will try to show that I do not see it as a unique way that is different from other pathways. In fact, I see it as very much similar and very much the same. I try to explain that, and let's see how, where we'll get from there. In terms of whether Islam consider people outside of the community of Muslims to reach salvation, well, that would relate to our discussion on pluralism. So allow me not to go into too much detail there, but in one word, I can just say yes, absolutely. So just to give quick answer to that particular question. But yes, absolutely. However, please refer to the episode that we will have later,
Hmm.
not now. Okay,
Right.
so this is interesting thing because when we look at the Quran, and of course we want to search the Quran to see what are those verses that says, well, if you do this and this and that, then you will be fine in the hereafter. If we do it that way, we will come up with a very long list of things that needs to be done. Yeah, it's a long list, and that may give us this false impression that, oh, there are so many things and so many aspects, and they're also very specific, and therefore irtiqa is right. They are unique to Islam because other religions are not saying the same thing. Yeah. But if you try to look at it in a different way, that let's not look at these different criteria beside each other. Let us look at them as part of one system at the top of each other. Huh? Let us try to arrange them in a way that we can understand what is that essence that makes us reach salvation. And then, of course, when we want to interpret that essence more specifically, then we can see what those specifics might be. Okay? There is only one word in the Quran that the Quran says definitely, using that word, people who do this will reach success in the hereafter. There's one word. The word is tazkiyah. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Qad is for stress. Aflaha comes from falah, the same thing that you are referring to it as salvation. Man means whoever. Zakaha comes from tazkiyah, purification. Purification, the one who purifies himself. Qad aflaha man zaka, the one who purifies himself, he will reach salvation. If I want to translate this a little bit more accurate, it doesn't say the one who has done complete purification. Because who can do that? No one can do complete purification, yeah? But the one who is in the path of purification, the one who is aware of it and is trying, okay? قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَاهَا. So answering your question, Irtiqa asks me, what is the criteria for salvation in Islam? I answer, based on this verse, is purification. Of course, that means spiritual purification.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let us talk about generic and specific. It is purification, and if you talk with the follower of any other religion, okay, I haven't talked with all other religions, so let me be a little bit more politically correct here. If you talk with the followers of most religions, and you tell them, look, our holy book says in order to reach salvation, you need to have spiritual purification. What do you think? I think most of them will say, well, yeah, it's pretty much the same for us. We also need to do the same thing. The concept of tazkiyah exists in almost all other religions and pathways, spiritual pathways. Yes, the definitions can be different. The formal definition can be slightly different. But the overall idea and the concept is the same. And let us ask ourselves, why purification? Why purification? And I want to say that it is not like God decided, okay, out of everything, let me just circle around purification and just say, okay, purification, that's the criteria. It's not like that. That's what a teacher like me do. Okay, I put an exam paper in front of somebody. I decide, okay, let's go for this criteria and that criteria. That's not for God. God does not do it that way. I want to say, Irtiqa, that the criteria for salvation has to be purification, because how we can reach the Almighty if we have not purified ourselves? Purification is for us to be able to reach the Almighty. This is the thing. So that circle that we talked about, consider that circle. We have started from Him. We are separated. We are struggling to get back to Him. The verses of the Quran says that we will reach Him. Some of us will be able to see Him. Some of us will not be able to see Him. Those of us who will be able to see Him can see Him because they have worked on their purification. And why purification? Because God is the ultimate pure being. The ultimate pure being. Again, even applying the word pure to God is not the best expression, because you normally, when you think about pure, you normally think that, okay, perhaps there was some impure things and these things have taken out and now this being is pure. But no, He is the source of pureness, if that's the correct word. If I want to give you a very simple example, very, very, very simple example, just imagine that a friend of yours wants to come and visit you, and you're a very clean person, and imagine that your friend is not very clean. I think you don't want to meet him, right? Or meet her, right? Because that person is not following the same values that you are following. Yeah? The whole concept of being Abdullah, servant of the Almighty, is because of the same thing. There's the verse of the Quran says that we created human being and jinn for them, liya'budun, so that they be our servants and they worship us, right? Why is that? God does not need us to be His servants. He does not need to be served. As far as I'm seeing, He's the one who provides everything for us. We cannot serve God. What's the idea here? The idea is that, again, talking about image and all that, if you are a person who wake up early in the morning, and let's say you are vegetarian and you are very clean, you cannot, well, a person who would wake up very late and does not like vegetable and eats meat, and is not very clean, cannot be your servant, cannot be working at your home. Your servant needs to have the same values as you. In Arabic, because you see in English, when we say servants, or for instance in Farsi, when we say nokar, I don't know what they call it in Urdu, it's not a very nice word. It had a little bit of, it's not a very nice word. In Arabic, the word abd can refer to actual slave, but within the context can also have a very lovely meaning in it. Like when God talks about his prophets, it says, ibadan li, my servants. When God talks about some of his beloved prophets, he says, he was my abd, he was my servant. In the end of the Surah Fajr, Ya ayyatuha nafsul mutma'inna, ارجع إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. O soul that is confident, that is happy with his Lord, and his Lord is happy with him. Come back to your Lord. Enter my paradise. Enter the community of my servants. فادخلي في عبادي. God is not making us downgraded here by saying, come to the servants. It's upgrading. It's a loving relationship. The whole concept of being Abdullah is the meaning of that goes back to that purification, meaning that by trying to understand and appreciate that we are coming from Him, we try to purify ourselves. Worshipping is one way of purifying ourselves. And it goes hand in hand. The more you purify yourself, the better worshipping you can do. But then worshipping itself also helps with purification. Okay, let's look at this verse. This is Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Quran, verse number 138. So God talks about what He expects from us, and then says, "Sibghat Allah, aman ahsanu min Allah sibgha." This is color of God. Sibghat Allah. This is color of God. فَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ السِّبْغَةِ. Who is two ways to translate that? Who gives better color than God? Or what color is better than color of God? And then says, وَنَحْنُ لَهُ عَابِدُونَ. And we are His servants. We are worshipping Him. See how ibadah, worshipping, being servant, and color of God are sitting in the same verse, as if it is telling us that by being His servant, we are applying the same color that He has.